You can stay with us here for our Thursday evening edition. I'm Mike Bettis.
I'm Alex Wilson. As always, with our hurricane expert, Dr. Rick Knabb. You're watching a lot of tropical topics this evening, too.
Yeah, and every week that goes by in August, my concern level goes up with this month being a lot busier, I think, overall, when all is said and done, than August of last year.
All right, we've got, that area that we've been watching off the coast. At the very least, looks like a dangerous rip current setup for the weekend, and that even is right now.
Yeah, before the main development region of the tropics light up, we are dealing once again with these old frontal boundaries causing water issues. You know, how many times has Florida had a weak system bring a rainy period, even more rain than usual during the rainy season?
Yeah, it happens all the time, it seems like. We're going to talk details about the tropics and what comes behind all of this, maybe a bigger concern. So Dr. Knabb is going to take a detailed look. Let's begin tonight, though, in a place like North Carolina.
You're going to see that right now, or you can see it in Ocean City, New Jersey. You can see the waves churning in, and it's not the only location. As Dr. Knabb said, it's not the only time, too. We're going to be watching all throughout the weekend, up and down the U.S. East Coast, and as he said, through Florida, too. We look at the rip current danger. Here's today's forecast. You can see that rip current danger is high today across sections of northeast North Carolina, southeast Virginia, so places like Virginia Beach, northern parts of the Outer Banks, also through the southern sections of New Jersey. So Cape May up through Wildwood, you're going to be dealing with some dangerous rip currents. Parts of the Delmarva dealing with moderate, even high-end rip current dangers as well. So when rip current dangers are higher, and honestly, it's just good practice anytime. You want to be swimming near lifeguards, always assume rip currents are present. And if you're caught, you want to stay calm, just float. Let it carry you away from shore. I know it's an uncomfortable feeling to feel like you're being dragged away from shore, but trying to swim against it is what's going to get you into trouble, exhaust you. So once you're out of the rip current, you'll find yourself at some point being let go. You won't feel that pull of the water against you. Swim parallel to the shore and then let the waves carry you back in. You can also wave for a lifeguard. They're out there looking. They'll come out and bring you back safely to shore. And if you have any questions while you're at the beach, check in with those lifeguards. That's why we say swim near them and use them as a resource, because they know what to look for when it comes to identifying rip current danger. All right, so we look at Virginia Beach, Virginia. Your rip current threat staying high today, tomorrow, even into our Saturday. So we've got a few days of very dangerous conditions in the waters. Sunday, still a medium risk of rip currents. I think finally, unfortunately, the timing's less than ideal. By Monday, things start to back down in the way of rip current threat. But through the weekend and Friday, days where most people will be at the beach, unfortunately, that's when things will be at their worst when it comes to the rip currents. Wave heights, as Dr. Knabb said, things are getting churned up with that onshore flow. We've got wave heights around 8 feet off the coast of the mid-Atlantic, and that onshore push is providing that higher end risk of rip currents. Rough surf will continue to be an issue with that wave forecast, staying on the higher side Friday and through the upcoming weekend as well. So, Mike, just be aware if you're going to go to the beach, have a great time, but be smart about it.
All right, well, let's take you to one of those.
Coast of Africa.
Yeah, and it actually doesn't matter at all how many storms we've had up to this point to get a sense for what is about to happen, because the main development region is going to do what it's going to do in the peak of the season, regardless of the early part of the season. However, Alex, post-tropical Dexter and this, like Dexter number 2, it's going to be a very similar evolution. These will have an impact on where 96L and the wave behind it go.
Yesterday, I called it a Rubik's Cube. Today, it's kind of like the baggage claim, because ultimately it depends where the other pieces of baggage are, if your baggage is going to land on top of others. So the movement of these will determine what's going to happen to this guy.
My gosh, 2 days in a row with an amazing analogy.
I'm trying.
Love it. I love it. Yeah, and with the baggage claim, is somebody going to take the bag before you can go get it? I mean, these tropical waves don't all go all the way across the Atlantic, especially when they develop. Do they find an exit out of town? Does that baggage get picked up halfway across or most of the way across? This one, the chances look pretty high that this is going to recurve to the north, unless it stays really weak and then tries to develop on our doorstep. So, Alex, you can obviously see there's another wave about to come off the coast right behind it. The waters aren't as warm here as they will be farther west. but my goodness, there's so much energy out there.
Yeah, and as you pointed out, we really haven't used any, so it's not like we've had a storm come through, churn things up, use up some of the energy. So things have really been primed to get going.
Yeah, and so you can imagine with the spin and some convection that this has now, once it gets to the warmer waters, it's going to have a future. And then here comes the next wave and the one behind it. And the models see these waves coming. And of course, they come off of Africa every 2, 3, or 4 days all season long. And when you look at what lies ahead, there's ridging out here. It's going to take these systems west and not a whole lot of wind shear. We have our mid-oceanic trough, and that produces some wind shear. And then we have Dexter and the system behind it that can weaken the ridge. So those are the features we're going to watch. So here's 96L. Look at the gap in the ridge here because of Dexter and the next system. You know, you can see them kind of slurping that one up.
Yeah, they're like, come on, join us, won't you? But as you've pointed out, there are waves behind it. Does the motion of this first wave then affect these and how things shape up moving forward?
In some ways, yes, because the fact that it curves sooner and hooks up with the system off of North Carolina, it gets north fairly quickly with ridging building in behind it. And there is the next wave with maybe another one behind it with more ridging in place. So I'm a little more concerned about the chances of next week's system being able to get farther west. No guarantees, but that's where things seem to be leaning.
So the ridge is the lady who stands 1 foot away from the baggage claim, keeping you from getting your own bag, so you watch your bag go. So the bag may end up on the other side of the Atlantic.
Excellent way to view it.
Saying.
Yep.
Those people need to take a step back, Mike. I can't get my bag.
I know you got to throw an elbow, Wilson. You're from
Alex Wilson.
Hey everyone, I'm Mike Bettis. We're going to talk a lot more about severe weather coming up. We also know that there's going to be some active weather across our southern states, Florida, Georgia, South Carolina in particular. And the pain may not end there because the tropics are now getting very, very active.
Yeah, we know we're at that time of year where things tend to get more active, and it looks like that's exactly happening. Well, time lapse, absolutely. So we take you to a virtual view of West Palm Beach, Florida. Obviously, we're going to see more in the way of wet weather, more dark skies, more heavy rain at times, but what's happening in the water also will be a concern, as Dr. Knabb just broke down for us. Right now at West Palm Beach International Airport, or Palm Beach International Airport in West Palm Beach, we've got no delays, but we do have some thunderstorms around. So, of course, always watching for that to put at least a temporary pause on operations at some of our southeast and especially Florida airports. We've had all sorts of troubles lately because of the thunderstorms. When we look at the rainfall still to come between now and Tuesday, so of course right through the weekend, we're going to be looking at some 2 to 3, even 3 to 5 inch totals across the southeast coast, so southern parts of the low country of South Carolina, coastal Georgia, and then throughout Florida, plenty of pockets where we see 2, 3+ inches of rain. For a place like Atlanta or Montgomery, probably in that 1 inch range. The farther north and west you go, lesser chances of rain, but not zero. Right now, we do have some North Georgia thunderstorms, parts of Tennessee and Alabama and western North Carolina. But your eye goes to Florida, where we've got much more of a concentration of rain and thunderstorms this evening. Closer look down towards the Pembroke Pines area. You can see we had some heavy rain rolling through earlier, especially on the south side of town. That is now moving off to the south and west. So south side of Fort Lauderdale been a little bit more active than areas north of the city. Pensacola right now, 85 degrees with sunshine. Tampa, 77, cool down because of some thunderstorms nearby rolling through the city. And moving through the next few hours, we're going to see that action fizzle, but overnight still could get a shower or thunderstorm across parts of the state. But watch as things really get going again once we get into the mid, especially late morning and afternoon hours tomorrow through tomorrow morning. Any chance of flash flooding lower in the areas in light green.
Not a whole lot honestly changes with those numbers and accounting for what's already happened. We've had 4. But that doesn't necessarily pretend what will happen for the rest of the season.
No, the seasonal forecast skill in development region, that's where that information content is. So, in general, it means Zippo, what happens in the first couple of months to predict off to the races.
And it really has been that unique setup, or not unique, but it has been that same setup, similar time and time again, where they've been close to home. We really haven't seen things kick off in the MDR, and that's happening now.
Yeah, and because of that pattern and the week short, ironically, because the systems haven't been very strong or very long-lived. And look at on average, we would have an accumulated cyclone energy. That's adding up all the storms and their intensities. The longer it lasts, the stronger it is, the more energy, right? And last year, we were 4 times above average. This year, we're below average, and only a tenth of the energy was last year. Up to this point, so much busier, so much more energy than last year. One name,
Beryl, right?
That's all that mattered.
Well, let me ask you this. If the season's kind of like a dud, not a whole lot's happened so far, let's put it that way, does that just mean like it's a powder keg ready to go then?
In some ways, yes, but it also means conditions. Last year, they were favorable in June, but then July and August, they went unfavorable, and those conditions didn't come back till September. This year, you shift that whole calendar earlier 1 month. So we've been unfavorable in June and July, but I think this year, August, we're now into favorable conditions. Actually, might mean the opposite of what you would think. I think that means, like you said, Mike, the powder keg ready to blow. The favorable conditions haven't gotten here till now. But unlike last year, I think now, August and September could be a lot busier than last year.
Well, I was going to ask, would favorable conditions in July be much different than favorable conditions in late August or September?
Yeah, because when the favorable busy periods, that could mean significant systems coming our way.
And more things are coming off the coast of Africa, more tropical waves, so we'll watch those closely, and that may happen this month.
The Dakotas are in the summertime, especially you feel like this year.
Sometimes they get these beautiful supercells like we saw there in Colorado, but also sometimes some really insane tornadoes. Hey, welcome in, everyone. You're watching Weather Unfiltered. I'm Mike Bettis.
I'm Alex Wilson here with our hurricane expert, Dr. Nab. We're talking storms, but we're also talking tropics, both in terms of possible storms and the effects of things we're watching.
Yeah, we are in a transition phase from these relatively weak systems trying to form off of fronts off the southeast coast to our attention really turning toward the tropical Atlantic and the main development region. But it is interesting how the two types of systems are going to interact over the next week.
All right, you're going to have details on that, so you want to stay tuned. It may be what you don't see yet that becomes the issue later on in the forecast. So it's just a hint of what we're talking about. We know there are going to be some issues for us here along the east coast of the United States, including some stormy weather for us along the outer.
Many times, right? So we look at Ocean City, New Jersey, another area where we've got some bigger waves, less people, venturing into the water, more staying out on the sand. And that's also because of the rip current danger. So in the water, even if the weather's nice, there's going to be that lurking danger of those higher likelihoods for rip currents, not just in Jersey, but down through the mid-Atlantic, down into our southeast and Florida beaches as well. So let's take a peek at what we've got for the upcoming weekend. Today, that risk of rip currents has been high for South Jersey, Central Jersey beaches, as well as parts of Virginia, North Carolina. So anywhere you see red, that's where the rip current danger is on the high side, and that's why we've had those red flags and double red flags flying. So you want to listen to those flags. Also, always swim near a lifeguard. It's just good to do. That way if you ever find yourself in trouble, you've got people there trained to help you nearby. Assume rip currents are present anytime you're at the beach. You can always ask the lifeguards as well. They are out there identifying. They know what to look for. If you are caught in a rip current, the best thing to do is to just let it carry you. I know it's uncomfortable. You don't like to lose control or feel like, the ocean's pulling you away from the shoreline, but fighting that rip current is what is so exhausting and unfortunately gets so many people into trouble. So stay calm, float, let it carry you out. If you can wave to a lifeguard, otherwise wait until the rip current relaxes. You will get released by it. You'll notice you're no longer being pulled out. You want to swim parallel to the shore or, again, wave to the lifeguard so somebody can come out and bring you back to shore safely. But today, tomorrow, and Saturday, expect that high risk of rip current. So don't be surprised if red flags or double red flags are flying at your beaches. I know the timing for the Virginia Beach area, not ideal, with Friday and Saturday both bringing that high danger. Sunday, a medium risk of higher rip currents or stronger rip currents. But, better safe than sorry. You don't want to be out there being like, well, it's my beach weekend, I want to get in the water, because it will be very dangerous in the water. Wave heights anywhere from 5 to 8 feet offshore, and we're going to keep that going. So yet another thing to watch for here at the beach is that rough surf. So you got to watch, Dr. Nab always says, don't turn your back to the water. You don't want to get slammed by one of those waves. Here's Friday. Saturday, we'll keep the wave heights on the higher side. And again, with that persistent onshore flow, Mike, the rip current danger will remain elevated all the way through the weekend.
All right, Alex, thank you. We know significant.
Thank you virtually to West Palm Beach, Florida, where we can expect rain showers, thunderstorms over the next few days. Again, I know the timing is less than ideal, coming just for your weekend or right on track for your weekend. You're like, I have things to do outside, darn it. Right now, no delays at the airport, despite the fact that we do have rain showers around West Palm Beach. So Palm Beach International Airport still showing green, 10-mile visibility. We've got light winds around 3 miles per hour. Rainfall to come, though, between now and Tuesday. So again, encompassing our weekend, we've got plenty of spots from South Carolina, coastal Georgia, and throughout the state of Florida that are going to see anywhere from 2 to 3 to 3+ inches of rain. Yellow areas, those are the 3 to 5 inch amounts. The darkest shade of green, the 2 to 3 inch range. 1 to 2 likely from Columbia to the coastline of South Carolina. Places like Augusta and Savannah in Georgia. Atlanta area, probably around a ½ inch to 1 inch of rain. So the farther north and west you go, lesser rain, but I don't think you get off scot-free with a rain-free weekend. You're going to be watching and dodging some showers and thunderstorms as well. That's what we've got right now. Obviously, with some scattered rain across parts of the interior southeast. Most of the coverage, though, has been focused a few places today. 1 Florida, 2 into central North Carolina. A little bit more rain up that way. Tampa, 76. You're cooled off thanks to those thunderstorms. It's 86 in New Orleans with thunderstorms. Meanwhile, Pensacola sitting between with sunshine and 85, but you've got rain chances ahead as well.
A very active, stormy summer.
Yeah, it's
And everything in between.
there's no break, no rest for the weary. So it's truly the toughest. We are watching Weather Unfiltered here on a Thursday. I'm Alex Wilson here with Mike Bettis, our hurricane expert, Dr. Nav. We're also watching tropics.
The Dakotas don't get hurricanes.
Yeah, that's true. They're like, well, there's that.
Right? But a lot of the rest of us have the peak of the hurricane season ahead of us. The next 2 months are where it really gets real.
All right, you take a look what's going on for us on the East Coast right now. There is a rip current danger because of a departing system, in essence, that's happening right now. But also, the southeast stays really active with a little disturbance that comes across Florida.
Alex, don't you miss being in Orlando when a weak system comes overhead and dumps rain on humidity?
My hair has never been so washed, so who knows? Maybe I go back. But yeah, very heavy rain over the weekend. Unfortunately, for the weekend, you're like, are you serious? Are you messing with me? But no, unfortunately, 2 to 3, even 3+ inches coming your way.
It'll dry out in November in Florida.
Hey, there you go.
So that's a long time to be patient, unfortunately, right? You're not alone in Florida. Places like
A little bit, and as we've pointed out, rip current danger, rough surf, both going to be issues at the beaches from up into the northeast. Here you're looking at Ocean City, New Jersey, through the mid-Atlantic, southeast beaches, even our Florida beaches. So unfortunately, a lot of folks who've got still vacation plans on the docket for Friday and the weekend going to be dealing with some less than ideal conditions in the water. Now, high risk of rip currents today have been focused into central and south Jersey, also through parts of the mid-Atlantic. So a little bit of our Delaware, Maryland beaches, also our Virginia and North Carolina beaches. Outside of those spots where we've got the high risk, we've kept that moderate risk going. You always want to swim near lifeguards. That's the best thing you can do, with or without the risk of rip currents. You don't need us saying, hey, there's a high risk of rip currents to swim near the lifeguards. They are there to keep you safe, get you out of trouble if you find yourself in these issues. And also, they're identifying the rip currents. So they are trained to spot them and let you know where's a safe spot to swim while you're at the beach. Always assume rip currents are present. And again, you can go ask the lifeguards. They'll tell you which areas to steer clear of. If you are caught in a rip current, you want to stay calm and you want to float. I know it feels weird and you're like, well, wait, I don't want it to pull me away from the beach. I want to be going towards the beach. I don't want to go out into the ocean. Eventually, the rip current will release you. So may pull you a little bit more farther away than you're comfortable with, but it will release you. You'll be able to swim parallel to the shore and then swim back in, or have the waves carry you back in, or just wave to the lifeguard and they'll come out and bring you back to shore safely. Now, today in Virginia Beach, along with tomorrow and Saturday, we're going to keep that high risk of rip currents going. Sunday, still at least a moderate risk of rip currents. Finally, getting back to the low end on Monday. So I know a lot of the time that people will be at the beaches will be packed, are the times where we'll have the most dangerous conditions in the water. Latest wave heights have been anywhere from 5 to 8 feet off the coast of the mid-Atlantic, and we're going to stick with that. So things remain churned up here through the day Friday, also into the upcoming weekend. So again, if you are heading to the beaches, if you're not a strong swimmer, if you've got the kiddos, tell everybody to stay in that, ankle, maybe knee-deep water. Mike?
Good advice there, Alex.
Making a mess, a virtual view of West Palm Beach, Florida. You're there for the sunshine. You're there for the beaches, and you're like, I didn't come for rain. That's what we may get, much more than what we bargained for. Going to Florida in the summer, during the afternoon, you're going to have the thunderstorms. The problem is even a little bit more than typical coming for the end of the weekend. Right now, we have seen rain in the area of West Palm Beach. Palm Beach International Airport, though, still reporting no delays. So there's some good news. What's not so great news is when we look at the forecast between now and Tuesday, we got quite a bit of rain, not just for Florida, but also coastal sections of Georgia and the low country of South Carolina. Here we could see some 2 to 3, even 3+ inch totals. So if you're going to Savannah for the weekend, you were hoping to walk through all those squares with beautiful trees, may not be ideal walking weather. Go down to River Street. They've got something that'll ease your pain. Parts of Florida, same with the theme parks, probably 1 to 2 inches at least around Orlando, with higher amounts as you head into western and southern sections of the state. Right now, we've got the Tampa area still getting in on some of those thunderstorms, cooling us to 78. It's 82 in Orlando, low 80s in Jacksonville and Pensacola. More sunshine for Pensacola, more storms towards New Orleans, 85 degrees there right now. Moving through the late evening and overnight, we'll see the shower thunderstorm action take a pause, but then we get into the day tomorrow. We're going to be watching for much more in the way of thunderstorms across the state.
Let's call it a decent number of storms. We have 4 named storms already this season. They've all been tropical storms. But what happens early in the season doesn't necessarily mean that's what's going to happen late in the season. And you can't really tell a whole lot by early season.
No, we've said for completely different reasons. Okay, so like you said, Mike, 4 storms so far this year. And if you just look at that, you'd think, wow, we already had 4, so this is a busy year. We're on pace to be pretty busy, but they've all been relatively weak and short-lived to the point where the total energy expended by the 1/3 of the season.
Probably wouldn't be surprising to a lot of people, especially comparatively to last year where we had so much energy used because of one storm, as you pointed out.
Yeah, this is a depiction of how this year compares to average, below average, and how it compares to last year, which was 10 times more energy in the storms up to this point compared to this year. Like you said, blame it all on one storm, an anomalously strong early season Beryl last year. But Beryl is a good, quick explanation for how different the first 2 months of last season were compared to this year. Last year, we had favorable conditions over the Atlantic Basin in June into early July. But then, after Beryl, we didn't have another major hurricane for 3 months. July, August, and much of September shifted all earlier by about a month, such that instead of waiting until mid-September for the favorable conditions to arrive in the peak of the season, they're arriving now. So I think the fact that it's been below average in terms of overall energy so far this year is actually not good news, because it means now we're going to use all the favorable conditions during the most climatologically favorable time of the year. And Mike, like you said last hour, there's a lot of unused energy out there just waiting to get turned into storms.
Well, let me ask you this. If those conditions turn favorable, how long does that typically last then? Can it vary?
Yes.
But is it more weeks, months?
Boy, those are really good questions that we don't completely have the answers to, and then they come back and you get another flurry of activity. So just because the favorable conditions are arriving now does not mean it's going to be that way for the entire rest of the peak of the season now to mid-October. There could be other parts of the peak of the season that have 1 or 2 week lulls, for example, but I think this year.
Well, we're already seeing that when we look at what's happening now. We've got Invest 96L, and then, as you pointed out, we've got 2 more waves waiting in the wings.
Yeah, so this is, I think, the beginning, the potential beginning of a flurry of activity here in August that continues into next week and the week after that, because of the timing of those favorable conditions relative to the August ramp up.
Does that tell us what part of the basin could be active or how intense storms could get?
I think all it tells us is that the main of those storms are ultimately going to go.
$1 million question that everybody wants, right?
Yes.
Dr. Knapp, thank you. Been burned too many times. We take you up to Ocean City, New Jersey, where it is absolutely packed here on the boardwalk. Everybody out and about. Maybe you're out there with your boys. You're looking to get a slice of pizza. You're like, oh, good, it's dry now. Overall, the weather may have you wanting to go to the beach in some of these areas. We may not get as much rain as folks to the south, but the danger is in the water. So got to watch for those rip currents. They've been high today across sections of Jersey, including the central and south beaches. So Cape May, Wildwood, Seaside Heights, these have all been problem spots. Mid-Atlantic beaches also high rip current danger today. Things to remember when we're talking about rip currents. One, the lifeguard's going to be your best friend. You always want to swim on guarded beaches. And honestly, that's just good advice whether or not the rip current danger is on the high side. They're there to identify issues that could cause you problems, and they're there to get you out of trouble if you get yourself into a pickle. Now, always assume rip currents are present. You can ask the lifeguard if there are any areas you should avoid if you're, a little bit more of a, uncertain swimmer. If you're caught in a rip current, the best thing to do, stay calm. Just let the rip current carry you away. So many times, the natural instinct, I think, is to try to get back to shore. You want to try to get away from it, but that's just going to exhaust you. So let this thing carry you away from the shore. I know it's uncomfortable to watch the shoreline and the people get a little bit smaller. You don't want to go out into the open ocean. You're not going to go that far away, but again, let it carry you out. It will release you. You swim parallel to the shore, and then you let the waves carry you back in, or you can call for help. Just wave down a lifeguard. They're going to be out there, monitoring. They'll see you wave. They'll come out and get you. Today, tomorrow, and Saturday, all bringing that high risk of rip currents to Virginia Beach. Medium risk still on Sunday. So into the end of the weekend, we're going to keep that danger in the water on the higher side. Lower risk on Monday. So things finally start to go down. But again, low risk does not mean zero risk. Wave heights at last check have been anywhere from 5 to 8 feet off the mid-Atlantic coast. That's what we're going to keep as we go through the weekend. So you notice the forecast does keep those deeper shades of blue, getting into that 8 to 10 foot waves closer to the coast all the way through Friday and into the weekend, Mike.
All right, so let's break down.
Take you to a virtual view here of West Palm Beach in Florida. Expect gray skies, expect rain of varying intensities. Sometimes it may be light rain, other times skies may open up, bring you some heavy rain, and other times you may actually see some peaks of blue sky, but we've got good rain chances with us both Friday and Sunday. I think storms are a little bit more hit and miss on Saturday, so that may be the day where you've got a little bit more sunshine during the afternoon hours. Monday, back to a mix of sun and clouds. Temps through the end of the weekend, early next week, back up into the low 90s. Saturday will be the coolest day of the bunch with temps around 86. I don't know why this doesn't want to move. So what I should do for the next 45 seconds is talk about the conjoined alpacas, which, by the way, I am going to tweet. I wonder if I went backwards in time. I probably did. Anyway, Florida, West Palm Beach has no delays at the airport. That is Palm Beach International. Rainfall still to come, 3 to 5 inches where you see the yellow. So it's not just a Florida issue, but I do think we're going to see more wet weather across the southeast coastline, including places like Savannah, Low Country, South Carolina. So unfortunately, you've got a trip for Charleston, Savannah. You really wanted to walk around, see the beautiful sights, maybe a little bit more wet weather than you'd like. Tampa, you've seen plenty of showers and storms tonight. Temperatures currently in the upper 70s.